Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to the show. I'm sick. Don't expect a good live stream tonight. I'll try my best. We'll have fun. We'll hang out. That was the cruising rig, as I shall now call it. Oh God, what's happening? Stop it. What? Okay, got it. That was a 75mm tiny whoop. I believe it's this exact rig. With the Meteor 75 camera canopy VTX, CO3 camera, M03 VTX, heavy canopy, in a Air 75 frame with either Betaflight 1102 22,000s or these RC & Power 1002 22,000s. Both of those motors are a little bit too low of a KV. But they're both motors that are really wide and not very tall. And one thing, and the way that I've learned to kind of fly these 75s with these motors on them is to just be very like cruise heavy, like fly around at like 50-60% throttle and just haul ass. I mean, as much ass as you can haul with a tiny whoop, but go outside and just go balling up and down the street and go up above your neighbor's roofs and up above your roof, and like don't do zero throttle throw stuff because they don't do that well. They don't have the RPM, they don't have the KV to generate a ton of momentum to where you can then jump off the throttle and yeah, throw it over trees and stuff like that. And if you do that, they're super fun, and the runtime is fantastic when you do that because the motor is so wide and not very tall that it stays very cool. So you can cruise it around at 50, 60, 70% throttle and the motors won't overheat. When motors overheat, the magnets get hot. When magnets get hot, they lose magnetism, not permanently, but while they're hot. And then the motors become a lot less efficient. So, yeah, the 1002 and 1102 22,000 kV motors. Yes, they are too low of a kV, and I do wish that they were a higher kV, but they're still very fun if you fly them in this specific kind of way. And just blasting around outside is very fun. It's completely silent, right? Like, nobody's ever going to start shit with you. So at that point, you can bring this anywhere you want, right? Bring it into a city, bring it into a mall, like wherever, and just blast around, just cover a whole bunch of ground. If you want something that you can do off throttle, throw, fully, like, kind of three-dimensional is what sometimes I call it, freestyle stuff, where you hammer the throttle, it goes soaring up in the air, you chop the throttle, and then while you're off throttle, you go backwards through a gate, like you see me do around here with the Ciotti loops, or Matty flips, or dives, or whatever. You're going to need something higher kV, such as the... Amnan, thank you for the subscription. Hold on. Let's see something real quick. Let's take a quick look at something. Something might have just happened. There's a chance that something just happened. Hold on. Oh, almost. Amaran, it was almost you, man. It was almost you. Look at that, yo. Look at that! I really don't care about the number. I care about having an awesome community of people, which we have achieved, and it's been like that for a long time. I could care less how big my EPeen is. It just, it just doesn't matter to me at all. I would rather have 100 amazing people hanging out in chat total than 10,000 morons. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it, and I love you guys. This is, like, I don't want to come off like I'm unappreciative. But yeah, the total number of subscribers is meaningless. Also because it's very easy to buy subscribers. And so, people, like, I always laugh when it's like a new channel and they've got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. It's like, oh yeah, sure. And like their videos get like 100 views. It's like, right. I'm sure that's legit. Hey, Slat's in the chat. What's up, homie? How you been? Slat's getting back into flying FPV. Freestyle, at least. He's been doing cinematics. They're just killing it with cinematic stuff for a while. But I saw he's getting back into freestyle, which is awesome. It's always really, myself included, it's really, really difficult to... I don't really know how to say this without sounding like an asshole. So I'll just say it, and if you think I'm an asshole, that's fine. I'm not, but... freestyle FPV is great, don't get me wrong. After you've done it for a long enough time, there's only so many different parking lots that you can fly in. If you keep searching and searching and searching for new spots all the time, yeah, you can find different buildings that are different and keep things exciting, and different fields with different setups of trees and whatnot. But after enough time goes by, typically you'll see FPV pilots start to look at subject-driven work, which you can also call cinematic if you want, but really what it is subject-driven flying. The parking lot is not necessarily a subject. Like, when you fly FPV freestyle, the subject is your flying, right? The flips that you do, the rolls that you do, the big dives that you do, the gap that you shoot. I guess you could kind of say that the location that you're flying is the subject, but it's kind of not, right? Like, if it was, you would fly in a way that shows that environment. You wouldn't be doing, you would never do a flip or a roll, right? A flip or a roll does not show the environment. It shows you're flying. And so, after you've done that for a long time, a lot of times you'll start to chase subjects, and I've found it, and pretty much every really seasoned FPV pilot that I've run into seems to find it pretty difficult to go back to freestyle after spending a bunch of time with subject-driven flying. Maybe it's because it's more fun. I don't know. It's more challenging in certain ways, but I don't know. I don't necessarily know the reason. I'll give you one of the reasons for sure, is that subject-driven flying does not involve going out, destroying everything that you own, and then coming back and spending 4 or 5 or 6 hours fixing it all so that you can go out 2 days later and destroy everything you own all over again. Which is, boy, is it nice to not have to do that, to not have to just constantly fix the same thing over and 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 over again. So that is, for me at least, I'm not going to put words into other people's mouths, but for me at least, that's a mega plus of subject-driven flying. Another plus is probably that subject-driven flying has a tendency to make you some money. It is almost impossible to make money flying freestyle. YouTube is not a good place to make money. It is incredibly difficult. You have to be really good at search engine optimization and just social media in general to build a big enough audience and then figure out a way to gently ask them to support you while you go out and fly for fun, right? Like, that's what freestyle is. That's what we all kind of consider freestyle flying, is you're just going out and flying for fun. Well, why should I pay you to go out and fly for fun, right? That's a tough sell. Subject-driven flying, there's a director that needs a camera to move in a certain way, and that has value, and they pay you for that, right? So yeah, there's another possible reason. But yeah, I always love when it's always hard to fall in love with somebody's flying style and then for it to go away. Here's a cheat code though. Just watch their old stuff. I go back and watch my favorite pilots' old footage couple of times a month, and it's amazing. One of my favorite things in the world to do is to go back and watch Gappett's flying. Gappett, his flying style was so incredibly ahead of its time, in my opinion. And like going back and watching it now, you could take one of those edits and move the date to 2 hours ago, and I bet you most of you would be like, dude, awesome, Gappett put up a new edit, amazing. If you even know who Gappett is. His flight style is, you can think of it two ways, either like ahead of its time or sort of just like timeless. It's awesome. And so yeah, watch people's old stuff. It's so easy to fall into the trap of, and this happens to me all the time, fall into the trap of like just watching brand new stuff, right? And like YouTube is designed, all of social media, right, is designed to do that. Just new shit, right? The algorithm specifically rewards us that create content for putting shit up constantly. And so, yeah, that very naturally happens. But watch old stuff. It's amazing. You'll find stuff that you haven't, that you missed. And then you'll just like revisit stuff, right? Like, how many of you guys have rewatched a show or a movie a second time or a third time, or in my case with some shows like Top Gear and Frasier and a couple others, a fifth or sixth or seventh time all the way through, beginning to end? It's like it's a different experience in a really good way, and you see things that you missed. And it's just awesome. It's great. It's really, really, really great to do it. And YouTube is no different. Like, sure, something that's on Netflix, something that's on Hulu has had millions of dollars put into the production. And so, yeah, sure, you will definitely see some extra subtleties that weren't there because of how much money and time and effort and yada, 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 were put into it. But stuff on YouTube is the same way. You'll see extra stuff. Not to mention that you've progressed as a pilot. You've progressed as a video editor, whatever. And so watching something a year or 2 or 5 later, you are watching it through a different lens. And it changes. Stuff changes, and it's really, really, really cool to go back and watch older stuff. So do it. Pick somebody every week, somebody every other week, somebody once a month, and just dive back in their channel and watch some of their old stuff. I promise you'll dig it. I promise you will. In the chat, Spaceman Spiff was first. Curtis Hayes, Doubles FPV, Bob Bruce, Thrash FPV, Adam West, Northern Tier, Cloud Hopper, Nick C, Freelojo, Kilo Zebra, Raging Leet, Morton Upshot, Notice, FP Avery, Frosty, Gardo Rotor, Douglas 6, Melted Cheetah. What's the story behind Melted Cheetah as a YouTube name? Tell us. I have a feeling that there's an interesting story behind that. Adam Weston, Malo FPV, Mick Mucus, Trash Boat, Bob Bruce, Porky Chop, Notice, Thrash, Super Deluxe, Can I Get a Channel, Pequeño Frijole, Freelojo, Safe Zone FPV, Morton Upshot, Nimbus FPV, 661, Cole Powers, Gardo Rotor, 661 again, Doubles FPV. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up to try to find my place. Derp, 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 derp. I think P. Richard Scott accidentally just hit a message. Gardo Rotor, 661, Doubles FPV, Thrash, Slat, Trash Boat. Trash Boat. Same thing. What's the story behind Trash Boat? We need to know. Metal Dirt Skin, Nimbus, Nick C, Slat again, Super Deluxe, Tiny Shark, Aaron Muller. Remind me to build. Level 1 drone, subscribe. Thank you, brother. Welcome to hell. I mean, a really great channel that you're going to learn a lot from. Hell. Nimbus FPV, Remind me to build. Remind me to build is top 5 YouTube names I've ever seen for somebody in FPV, for the record. Tiny Shark FPV, Shane and Mindy Hale, Shoot to Miss, P. Richard Scott. Didn't mean to hide. Yeah, there it is. What's up, Patrick? How are you, brother? FPA 661. Cole Powers, you'll be back. P. Richard Scott. Patrick, blame Patrick. I had nothing to do with it. It was all Patrick. Yell at him, not me. He accidentally hit you. And can I get a channel? Metal Dirt Skin. I might be sick, but goddammit, I can still read people's names very quickly. Thrash FPV says, don't cough, you got the stream sick. I'll try my best. Notice says, congratulations on 10K subs, yo. Thank you, dude. Can I get a channel? Says, what's up, Whoop Wizard? Morton Upshot says, nobody knows nobody knows how magnets work, but drop it in water and that's the end of your magnet. Or so someone with the best brain says. Who said? Oh, are you referring to quads falling in the water and not working? Or am I missing is that an inside joke that I'm not on the inside of? Hello, dog. What are you doing? Dog. You want me to pick you up? You love being picked up, don't you? I won't pick you up, I swear. He knows. He knows immediately. Come on, dude. The people want to see you. Stop being such a cock tease, dog. Get over here. Get over here. I always put you right back down. Don't act like you don't like it. Oh, boy. Now. Oh, boy. Now is it? I should probably not shake him, right? I can't not shake him, though. Look at him. He's a dog that needs to get shaken. Look at this fluff, man. Look at this dog's fluffy legs. You're a bad dog, but I love you, I think. When he calms down like this, you just have to savor it. And just keep your voice. There it is. That's about it. That's the maximum allowable time of calm Teddy Spaghetti. I love you, little buddy. Ugh! There it was. That's all you get. When he calms down like that, though, you just everything stops in life, and you just have to like, maybe he'll do this for more than 7 seconds at a time someday. He's still in Velociraptor age, though, so... Oh. I don't know if you guys heard that, but he just hit his head on the bottom of the desk. He delivered his disgusting chicken to me, and just bashed his head into the bottom of the desk. It's not playtime, Teddy. I'm so sorry. I know that 24 hours a day you just want someone to throw that chicken across the room, but now is not. Don't look at me like that. Don't. When he looks up, looks up like this, you see like the whites of his eyes. And I'll do whatever he wants at that point. You want me to cook you a steak dinner? Done. Stream's over. Cooking him steak. 661 with some pieces and some purple, blue, purple hearts. 661 also says congrats on 10. Thanks, dude. Bigger numbers is better, right? That's it. That's all that matters. If the bigger the number, the better you are as a human being. Metal Redskin says, how about 100 awesome people and one moron? I'm counting on it. Tiny Shark FPV says, barely learned freestyle, went straight to subject-driven flying. Only got back into freestyle because of your Tiny Whoop freestyle build. Very cool. Now I feel like I'm just getting started. Yeah, you know, it's super interesting. I have no idea what it would be like to have that path. What I can say is that flying freestyle is swinging with a weighted bat for sure. Flying freestyle is in many ways way more difficult than subject-driven flying. Cinematic flying is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a different difficulty. It's a difficulty of there's more dealing with stress because you're in a situation where you can't crash. Or, yeah, I mean, it depends on what your subject is, but for the most part, you can't crash. It's just not an option if you want to get more work or do more jobs like that. We're a very small community, and if you hit somebody in the face or slam into the windshield of a car, it's over. This has happened time and time again. That was your last gig in most cases. And so there is a much higher stress level. There should be a much higher stress level if you're experienced enough to understand that. Hopefully you are experienced enough to understand that. If you're not, then you're a liability. And you're going to ruin it for all of us. Please don't do that. And so, yeah, versus freestyle flying, you're doing things that are technically more difficult because you have to work harder, right? Like, you don't have a cool looking subject that you can just point the camera at and that's it. You've got, your flying is on display 100%. And so, yeah, you got to do more. You got to move the sticks more. You got to work harder. Your subject, a parking lot, sucks. And so you have to work harder to make that parking lot look cool versus you point it at a monster truck and it's just immediately cool, right? And so I've always considered freestyle to be like the crucible of FPV flying. If you can get really good at freestyle FPV, you can fly cinematic, not easily, but like if you can learn to manage the stress, and if you have sort of like an eye for videography and photography and storytelling and stuff like that, it's weird. It feels easy. When I go fly gigs, like a lot of times when I leave a gig, I'm just like, I'm constantly blown away. Like, this is my fucking job. Like, that's insane. Like, that was just super fun. Like, that was just chill and super fun. What's interesting is when the adrenaline clears out of my body, I'm exhausted because there is a higher stress level. I've had generalized anxiety disorder all my life. And so my entire life, I have had super high levels of anxiety for no reason. And so I've spent 43 years learning to deal with a super high level of anxiety. So when I'm on set, regardless of who it is, right, TI or Blanco Brown, or if it's something I'm doing for HBO or Bravo TV, not to drop names, it's not a big deal. Which I've talked to other pilots and I've worked with other pilots through Fiverr that do not have that experience. And their whole thing, the whole reason that they're hiring me to spend a half an hour on the phone with them is to talk about how the hell, like, I did a couple gigs and I cannot get over the anxiety. What the hell do I do? How can I possibly get over that? How do I cope with that? And so I know it's a real thing. So yeah, that's super, yeah, like I said, I can't imagine going pretty much straight into cinematic flying and then going to freestyle. But what I can tell you, Tiny Shark, is to in my opinion, I'll say, lean into freestyle and fly as much freestyle as you possibly can. It will make you way better as a subject-driven pilot, and it'll also. The other thing that's cool about freestyle is, like, you've got money on the line, and, like, you're probably gonna wreck. And there is a level of stress involved with that. So the more freestyle you fly, the better you will get at dealing with that stress. That is one of the things that really does help, is just to pound batteries, just to put tons of stick time in. That in itself will help with the anxiety. Aaron Muller says, I put my Mobula 6 HDZero into a Cockroach V3 frame, and I had to turn my AIO so my USB isn't in the way of the battery. Do I have to reconfigure my motors and gyro, and if so, how? You do. You're gonna fix the gyro in the configuration tab. In the config tab on the top right corner, there's gyro orientation. And, like, don't try to logically think through it. Just change one of them. Change the yaw. If it's at 0, change it to 90, and then save it. And when you reconnect, move the quad around and on that initial screen and see if it moves in the correct way. And then you're good to go. If 90 is not right, 270 is probably right. But, like, don't sit there, in my opinion, and try to, like, oh, well, it's turned this way, and I think that they mean that the positive is... Just change it, click save, and see if it worked. And because you got to see if it worked anyway. So yeah, that tends to be a lot faster. And then for the motors, you're going to do that in the motors tab, and it's it's up here. It's next to motor direction. It's the, like, motor location wizard, and click that, and it'll say, like, which motor is spinning, and you're right front. You click which one is spinning. You'll see it. It's in there. Frank Nicholas is here too. What's up, homie? So, and Nimbus as well. Tiny Shark says, feel like a newbie because I'm just learning juicy flicks, Matty flips after 3 years of flying. That's wild. Remind me to build, says Fraser, huh? Yeah, I knew something. It's a funny thing to say out loud, but I knew something was wrong with me from a pretty early age. I had, like, suicidal shit from a pretty early age. Just, like, a general, like, wow, the world would be better off without me. And so, like, I knew something was going on. I think it was my mom that watched Frasier. My parents watched Cheers. And get this, somebody out there doesn't know this. Frasier is one of the most successful spin-off shows of all time. It's a spin-off show. The character of Frasier is from Cheers. It was a fully developed character in Cheers, and when Cheers ended, they spun off and made Frasier. Ain't that somebody's mind just melted out their ear holes? And yeah, I remember thinking that Frasier was pretty funny, but I was young enough, like, watching it now, and I've watched all 8, maybe 9 seasons, I think was its run. I've watched them all at least 5 times through over the last 15 years. And it's fairly, like, adult, sophisticated kind of humor. So I know that as a kid, I wasn't getting all of the jokes. But I latched on to the fact that he was a therapist. And there's like light therapy-ish stuff in the show. And so I've always kind of assumed that was one of the... I didn't like Cheers. I would watch it with my parents, but I didn't like love that show. Like I when I watch Cheers now, it's not... It's just... I don't love it. And so yeah, I think the therapy side of it is one of the things that really attracted me to the show. And then later on, I can back that up with the fact that I also fell in love with a show in college called... Is it literally called In Therapy? No. It's called HBO show about therapist. It's called In Treatment. I didn't even need to let it go. Yeah, there was a show on HBO called In Treatment about a therapist. Fascinating show because, get this, therapists are actual people just like us. So they go to work and people tell them the most awful things and like that they're suicidal and all this shit, right? And then they have to go home and deal with that. Deal with the fact that their 3 o'clock client told them that they were sure that they're going to kill themselves this week. What? Therapist, I know dentists have a very high rate of suicide, but I believe therapists do too. It's a very difficult job. Oh my God, these people are saints. I mean, everybody that works in healthcare are saints. But yeah, therapists are people too. And In Treatment takes a look at that. Takes a look at how, you know, in a way, imperfect therapists can be, but also that, you know, it's a job that kicks their asses. So yeah, I've for my whole life I've really connected with shows like that, which is probably a really good thing. You know, like you think about the people that write these shows. I'll bet you somewhere in their mind, probably pretty present in their mind, is like, hey, a part of why I'm doing this is to help people that and you know, when they're writing the scripts, they're dealing with real issues, and that's one of the wonderful things about art in general, right? Like, we think of TVs and movies as just TVs and movies, but it's art 100%, right? Art in general has an amazing way of told you we were just gonna hang, yo. Art has an amazing way of connecting with people that are hurting. A lot of art is made by people that are hurting, right? Think about like the rates of mental illness with actors and actresses. You know, we lost Robin Williams a few years ago. Think about the roles that Robin Williams has played in movies. Like, would you ever think that he would be the one to take his own life? You know, Jim Carrey, like, deeply depressed person. Like, he's pretty outspoken about it. Major difficulties with depression. Speaking of, one of my favorite, just kind of as an aside, since this whole live stream is an aside, one of my favorite quotes from Jim Carrey that I stumbled across lately when I was in it, is that he says, like, I wish we would like pronounce depression differently. I wish we would pronounce it depression, because what your body needs in those moments is deep rest. Deep rest-shin. I forget what he said, but yeah, just a incredibly for him to say that, I could tell that I already knew it, but like, yeah, that's somebody that gets it. That's somebody that's been through it. Yeah. Getting back to the chat and off my soapbox. Thrash FPV says, when you say welcome to hell, it reminds me of me and my coworkers saying that to the new people at my old job. Melderson says 10,000 awesome people and one impudent ass dog. Yeah. Thrash FPV says, so with wiring LEDs directly to the battery, would I wire it to the battery leads, or where do I inline it? Doesn't matter. Never wired something bypassing a flight controller, tiny whoop, blinder, and LED harness. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The electricity flows. You can put it. I would put it on the battery leads where they connect with the AIO. If you're using the through holes, I would put the LEDs on the top of the through hole here, because you're going to have a blob of solder on the top of that through hole, on the top of the LED, right? So you've got this blob of solder here, so I would just use that. If you're using the pocket holes on the side of the board, I would kind of do the same thing. Hold the battery lead in there, and then try to solder the LED onto like the outside of that or something. Yeah, Striker says it's going to be cool to have some to test all this stuff. I definitely want to try some 2.5 and 3-inch ductless. I think I'm. Striker put an exclamation point after my name on his previous message, and it didn't light up in orange. His rig got run over. That sucks, dude. Boy, have I been there though. AIO's dead. VTX is fine. Thoughts on the beta 12 amp AIO? It's been good for me. It's what's in the 2S75 walk snail rig. Looking for a powerhouse AI to experiment. I wouldn't call it a powerhouse, but I mean 12 amps is a lot, right? 12 amps is 48 amps total, and that's you're not gonna find a powertrain that'll pull 48 amps until you get to like, I would say 2.5, 3-inch with like big 3S batteries, big power, big weight. But yeah, it's been a great AIO. Metal Dirt's, the first one that broke was 100% my fault. Absolutely no fault whatsoever on Betafpv. Metal Dirtson says some OG Freestyle pilots were amazing at finding cool lines through otherwise boring spots. Stingy was the best at that. I feel like hardly anyone flies that way anymore. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. To me, Stingy was the guy that would just, he was like the reckless, and he's actually talked about it before. Like, he specifically said that he knew he was never going to be as good as Schizo or Steel, and so he would just say to hell with it and just throw the rig at gaps and like whatever and see if he could pull it off. So he was like that reckless kind of pilot, which is, maybe that's what you're picking up on, Metal. But yeah, that's always him describing it that way. I was like, God, that's perfect. Yeah. And he was a great pilot. Death Pilot says, cheers, Gangly Gang and CiottiFPV. Striker says, something I struggled a lot with in the beginning was getting insane in the sim, but I was too scared to do anything in real life. To a certain extent, I still am, because I still have no money. Yeah, I'll never forget. I told this story not too long ago. I should have just named this live stream story time. I'm in that sick period where I'm all like sweaty and uncomfortable, and I feel like I smell like shit, and I'm like, I get real hot and get all sweaty for no reason, and then I'm cold. So I did this, and I was like, oh God. But you guys don't care if I have pit stains. I don't, but you guys don't care. Yeah, I'll never forget at the first quad camp that I went to, which was here in Atlanta. This was back when I was living in Charleston. I brought my laptop, and I'm at one point I'm sitting in there just ripping in Velocidrone. And I didn't realize it, but Drew had like come up behind me, Ladrib, and he was like, dude, damn. He's like, can you do all this in real life? And I was like, well, not really, but some of it. And just that right there, right? Like, there was. It's funny. Like, I would like to think that he wasn't being a dick by saying that, but like, right? It's kind of like, but it's true. It's totally true. Like, he ain't wrong. And so yeah, that's very common. I've actually worked with a bunch of pilots through Fiverr that we worked in the simulator a whole bunch, and they got really, really good in the sim, and it kind of got to a point where like there wasn't a whole lot extra that I could teach them in the sim, And then they started leaning into flying for real. And within like a week or two, they'd be like, what the hell is going on? I can't do anything in real life that I can do in the sim. And it actually got really frustrating for them. And so I learned a little bit of a lesson there of like, don't go so far with somebody in the simulator before pushing them out of the sim into the real world. Because it is absolutely, it's got to be in, I mean, I don't remember being like Superman. I used to spend tons of time in the simulator, but I would also spend tons of time flying for real. And so I didn't necessarily have that experience. I do remember being like, I do remember specifically thinking on many occasions, I wish I could fly for real like I do in the sim, which is kind of the same thing, right? So yeah. YouTube just keeps doing the thing over and over again. Dronesin says, I don't know if I missed it, but what is your VR setup for the racing game the other day? So that is PS5, Gran Turismo 7. The VR setup is just the PS5 VR goggles, which are called PSVR 2, I believe. But yeah, they're the only VR goggles that you can get for PS5. And then I have a pretty straightforward sort of budget-friendly sim rig, as budget-friendly as you can be. Sim rigs are not the cheapest thing in the world, but my entire sim rig costs less than what a bunch of the direct drive wheelbases themselves, without even a wheel, cost. So in the scheme of sim racing, my rig is a super budget rig. Most sim rigs have like so Steele Davis, for example, when he wanted a sim rig, he contacted, I don't know, somebody and said, hey, I want you to build me a sim rig. The budget's $5,000. That's like a pretty normal sort of budget for a sim rig. You can go way beyond that, but that's like a pretty normal amount of money to kind of put into a somewhat serious sim rig. My setup is a Playseat Challenge, which is cool because it actually folds up. It's like a lawn chair kind of, but it's set up for a sim, and it's pretty sturdy for what it is. The big thing though is that it folds up, so you can like have it in your. One of the main requirements was that I wanted to play on the big ass TV, and so I didn't know how I would have like a setup that's like not fold upable, that, you know, because I'm not just gonna plop it in the middle of the fucking living room. And so yeah, it's the Playseat Challenge is really nice. There's a couple of other fold up sim seat / rig setups. The Playseat Challenge 3 or 4 years ago when I got it was the best of them. Nowadays there might be one or two that are better. Sim racing is way more popular than FPV, so you will find tons of reviews here on YouTube. And then I've got a Thrustmaster T300 wheelbase and pedal set, which is unfortunately no longer sold, but there's stuff that is comparable in price nowadays. I've got the bigger steering wheel for it, Sparco R363 or something like that. It's it's a bit of a vanity purchase, if I'm honest. And then the Thrustmaster H-pattern shifter. I guess that's it. Yeah, that's the setup. Super simple, without the VR goggles, less than $1,000 setup, which is like insane in the world of sim racing. In the world of sim racing, for the record, I would get shamed for this setup. I would be considered like a fucking pleb for having such a cheap setup. The sim racing world is a lot of people with a lot of money. So fair warning, a lot of the recommendations you're going to get are going to be for stuff that's absurdly expensive. Is it a little bit better than what I've got? Absolutely. Is it a lot better than what I've got? No. I've spent a bunch of time on Steele's rig. I've spent a bunch of time on the Porsche Experience Center's rigs. Torque Motorsports, where I chase the RC drift cars. They have a bunch of different rigs that I've spent time on, and it's like I said, they're a little bit better, but they're not that much better. So, in my opinion, spend less money. Put the money you save into FPV. Trying to find my spot. Level 1 drone says, Jim Carrey and Liar Liar. I watched that movie so many times. I know each character's lines. Yeah, Liar Liar is one of my favorites of his. There are more Jim Carrey movies that I know beginning to end than there are that I don't know line for line. I was a huge Jim Carrey fan growing up. Just Mo says, I work as an on-call child lethality assessor and a youth and family counselor. It sucks, but making a difference keeps me going. Burnout is real, but each breakthrough keeps me going. Good for you, brother. Just Mo's doing God's work. That's. I mean, he said it. It's hard. It's got to be incredibly difficult. But yeah, somebody's got to do it. And if you're willing to, that's amazing, dude. That says a lot about you as a human being. It's big shit. That is a hell of a legacy to leave on Earth, right? That is, yeah, that's got to feel really good. I'm certain that it is unbelievably difficult. But yeah, what a thing to leave, you know? What a thing to, as I get older, I think more and more about, like, what's my life's work, right? Like what am I leaving behind? What's my legacy or whatever? And I'm super lucky to have found FPV when I did and fallen in love with it and had the opportunity to put a lot of time and effort into it. And so, yeah, like this is it, man. Like this is one of, yeah, it's changing now that I'm living with children. But this ride that I've been on is arguably one of the best things that I've done in my life. And that's pretty cool. And yeah. It's cool to find something like that. It's even cooler when something like that just appears in front of you and you don't even realize it, but you grab it and run hard as hell with it. Striker says, I look back at my childhood F1 memories with my dad fondly, but nostalgia is crazy. When I was a kid, McLaren was in the dark ages. One of my favorite quotes of all time, I don't know the exact quote, but it basically states that nostalgia is a powerful drug. Marketing has really leaned into nostalgia. Look at all like the 80s and 90s shit that we're seeing, right? I mean, the marketing always has, but like I feel like in the last like 5-10 years, marketing folks have really realized the power of nostalgia. It's wild. Islander FPV says, is that white autocross helmet by the door same model as the original Top Gear Stig wore? Yep. And the black one right next to it is the exact one that the original Black Stig wore. The black one is a Simpson Super Speedway, and then the white one is a Simpson Razorback, I want to say it's called, with an $80 visor. The blue purple Simpson visor on the white Stig's helmet is $80. I got both of those helmets used towards the end of their life cycle. Helmets have automotive helmets, motorsport helmets. No, I can't say motorsport because motorcycles are also motorsport. Automotive helmets have a 10-year lifespan, and then I believe autocross gives you an extra 5 years because the speeds are so much lower. And so when helmets are like 8-9 years old, they pop up on Facebook Marketplace and a lot of the motorsport specific websites for like half what they normally would be, sometimes even less. Simpson helmets, Simpson is the manufacturer of these two helmets, are very expensive. They're not like the most expensive, but they're up there. And I would never have bought either one of those helmets new. I think new they were over $500 each, which is just ridiculous for autocross. But I found both of them used at really good prices. And I'll put it this way: I couldn't find the visor used. I spent like almost maybe more than half of what I did on the entire helmet on that goddamn visor. But the helmet just looked stupid with the clear visor that it came with. And I was like, well, fuck it, it's fine. And then the second autocross that I had that helmet at, I was instructor driving a Jaguar XJ12, which I didn't really fit very well in. And the top of the windshield, so it was a convertible, and the top of the windshield was kind of like right here. So I was kind of like scrunched down a little bit to look under the top of the windshield. And at some point, I got on the brakes really hard, and for whatever reason, my face smashed into the top of the windshield, and it left a big old scratch right in the middle of the fucking visor that I just paid $80 for, and I was pissed. And every time I see that scratch in the visor, I'm reminded of that moment. But I get to say that I instructor drove a Jag XJ12, which was, I mean, that's like their luxury, whatever, GT car from back in the late 80s, early 90s, I guess. It wasn't anything special, but my time as an autocross instructor was very special. That was an amazing part of my life. That was like my late 20s. And I had a job that I loved. I made decent money. And man, I had some fun. I had some incredible times with autocross and track days, and as an instructor and a competitor and all that stuff. The Enzo the Trouble says, what brand do you suggest for sim racing? I have not kept track. I have not kept track. There's been I bought my setup very early on in the pandemic, and one thing that the pandemic did is shut down real motorsport events, and so sim racing completely exploded. And there was a like the R&D and like the new products becoming available went crazy. So my setup is actually, like, even though it's only a few years old, it's like kind of super outdated. It's still great, don't get me wrong, but like the stuff that's available today is completely different. I think that you can get direct drive wheels. My setup is belt driven. I think you can get direct drive wheels now that cost what my setup costs, which is crazy. So yeah, I don't know, but like I said, the world of sim racing is orders of magnitude more popular than FPV. So yeah, 20 minutes searching for reviews on sim racing gear on YouTube will get you just all the info that you would ever want to know. Striker says, thinking either G29, don't do that, or something like that. I want something okay to start a sim. Don't get anything made by Logitech. They are all gear driven, which is bad. Gear driven sounds like shit, and then it doesn't last at all. So like you'll spend $50 less or like $100 less on a Logitech setup, but then after like 200-300 hours of use, it's done, and you have to start all over. And so that like $50 or $100 that you saved is just completely out the window, and now you have to start from scratch. And during the time that you're using it, it sucks. Gear driven is not the way to go. Belt driven, which is what I have, is way better. But direct drive is really the way to go. And nowadays there are a bunch of affordable direct drive setups. Similar sort of conversation that we have in FPV sometimes of like, don't buy the absolute cheapest possible gear because it has no resale value. With a direct drive setup, if you ever get out of sim racing, you'll be able to get a good amount of value out of it. With a Logitech wheelbase, Logitech is who makes the G29. nobody wants them, especially used, because people know that they don't hold up. So yeah, don't get a G29. Thrash FPV says, the Thrustmaster F1 wheel is so beautiful. Thrustmaster makes great stuff. Nate Adams says, after my first year of flying, I found a balance of getting the vibe of a trick and then immediately taking it outside. Air resistance and timing don't feel 100%. I assume that you're talking about the simulator, Nate. And yeah, it's the simulator is great for learning the stick movements and just getting a conceptual understanding of the way that the camera is going to rotate and what you need to do to make that happen. And then, yeah, exactly what you said, get outside and do it for real. Even with tiny whoops, in my opinion, tiny whoops are a better learning tool than the simulator. The simulator still has a lot of value, and everybody should use the sim. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use the sim and you should use tiny whoops, but to me, tiny whoops, you've got something on the line, so you've got more anxiety to deal with, which is important because you're going to have to do that. And then they're actually in the real world, right? Actual air. And so, yeah, to me, tiny whoops are a better learning tool, but you should be using all of the tools, right? There's no reason to just use one tool. The simulators are cheap. Some of them are free. You should be using them. In addition to this, that, and the other. By the way, on the stream the other day, I thought that this 2G4 was dying. It somehow just had the wrong VTX table on it. I didn't think to check that because I'd been flying this rig. This was a working rig. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And I don't remember dicking around with the VTX table. So it makes no sense. Shout out to Timmons for sending me that and this. So yeah, I didn't screw around with the VTX table because I don't remember having screwed around with the VTX table. Apparently I did, because the ones and zeros don't fall out of these things no matter how hard you hit them. So yeah, that was weird, but it's good to go now. Cheatonian says, I'm sitting in a playseat trophy watching your stream on the PC connected to my TV. Nice. YouTube did the thing again. Thrash FPV says, if I wanted a sim setup, how much should I budget? 500, 1,000? Absolute bare minimum 500 for sure. A little bit more realistically, $1,000. Because again, you want to get something decent enough that you're not going to put 100 or 200 hours into it and then it's going in the garbage. And so, yeah. Stay away from gear driven. Belt driven is fine, but best case scenario is direct drive. Direct drive will pretty much never wear out. It is a giant brushless motor and a metal shaft coming out the front. That's it. So there's nothing to wear out. And so, yeah, that's what you want to kind of go for. Drones in FPV says, right on. I got a MetaQuest as a trade and was curious. Very cool. Yeah, the PC side of sim racing is crazy. And there's all kinds of amazing stuff. Trigger says, what's a good complete starter setup? I don't think there is. I don't think that exists. Similar to FPV. It is sim racing is a very DIY kind of hobby. So my recommendation is going to be to just don't try to get a complete starter setup, because you'll, again, much like with FPV, there'll be like parts of it that are shit. And then you'll have to end up replacing them, and then you'll end up losing money in the grand scheme of things. Cheatonian says, load cell pedal made the biggest difference for me. Yeah, I wish there was a less expensive way of getting a load cell brake pedal onto my setup, but it's actually okay. And in most of the sims, you kind of have to use ABS. I would love not to, but yeah. I mean, if I was going to go load cell brake pedal, I would go load cell with feedback brake pedal, so that I could actually feel, because otherwise it's kind of, that's not pointless, but like, yeah, if I'm going that deep down the rabbit hole, I'm going to get feedback there so that I can feel the ABS kicking in, or lack of ABS, to feel the tires starting to lock. Tiny Shark FPV says, best FPV sim to use for practicing. Velocidrone, in my opinion. other people have other opinions. But yeah, to me, Velocidrone is good. The graphics look like shit, but so do the graphics in your goggles, especially with analog. So yeah, Sims are not about graphics to me. They're about physics and the accuracy. There are some newer Sims that I have heard people say that they have really, really good physics. And then I've heard other people say that the physics are awful. And that unless like you go crazy customizing them, or like there was one that was like it was in beta, and then I don't know. Velocidrone, like I don't hear people say that Velocidrone sucks. And Velocidrone is one of the only Sims that has constantly people on it. Typically racers, but like there's always someone with an open lobby in Velocidrone, and that says a lot. Nate Adams says cycling helmets also generally have expiration dates due to the foam becoming brittle. Tires and race harnesses also have birthdays printed on them, and check it before getting to a new car. Yep, it's pretty wild how good safety has gotten in the world of cars and bikes and stuff like that. Super impressive. Striker says probably going to get something from Moza. Moza makes really good stuff. R5 or Fanatec. Fanatec stuff is great, but good luck actually getting it. They are like, they ripped a ton of people off, and they like weren't shipping stuff for like 6+ months. It's really hard to get your hands on anything made by Fanatec. I almost didn't get this setup. I was waiting for Fanatec, but after many months, nothing came back in stock, and I was like, I can't just keep waiting forever. And then after that, there's like a whole scandal with Fanatec. It's kind of interesting. ThrashFPV says, I almost got talked into a used Logitech setup. Thank God I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, a used Logitech setup is like worthless. Unless they didn't really use it much, which sometimes is the case. But yeah, no, stay away from Logitech. Cheetonian says, Fanatec just got bought by Corsair. Yeah, there's the sim racing world has some really silly drama. That's silly, but it's whatever. It's interesting. Look at that. I'm caught up on chat. I have no plan whatsoever. But I didn't finish the iFlight Blitz stuff, so I'll dive into that, and we can fly a couple of these. I think I still need to do the setup on a couple of these. So yeah, let me take a look. I think we flew this one, right, with the 36,000 kV motors. This actually no, I know that we flew this. So let me put a battery through this, and I'll dial the tune in a little bit in case anybody wants to kind of learn how to tune. Here you go. And when I say learn how to tune, I mean like learn how to tune without black box, because I do not use black box to tune. You can get tunes. You can get most tunes. It depends on the rig, but most rigs you can get to about, I would say like 90% perfect without using black box. Personally, I don't have the ability to not go completely down the rabbit hole with stuff like black box. When I first started to learn black box, it's all I did. I stopped flying, and I just started obsessing over tuning and black box logs. And luckily, pretty quickly, I was like, wait. I don't want to be the best tuner in the world. I don't want to be a really good tuner. I want to be a really good pilot. And I just kind of realized that if I keep going down the black box rabbit hole, that I'm going to keep obsessing over the tune rather than obsessing over my flying. That was a personal decision that I made. I also kind of looked at, like, I really enjoy flying. I don't necessarily really enjoy tuning. And I want to do the part of this hobby that I really enjoy. And so for me, that's how I kind of made that decision. And I'm glad I did, because nowadays it's easier to tune than ever before. This is back when it was kind of insane to do that, but I figured I would try it. And it worked out okay. I was able to figure out, basically, without black box, you're going to tune based on visuals and listening to the sound that the quad is making, and touching the motors to see how hot the motors are. And you can actually learn a lot from those three things. Luckily, you can learn enough to get a tune that's pretty damn dialed. There is absolutely still value in black box tuning, especially with kind of like unruly builds that have a problem, a gyro that's on its way out, a lot of electrical noise, a shitty frame design, a beat up frame that's like starting to delaminate the arms and whatnot. In some of those cases, black box logs are sort of the only way. But what I've found is that if your build is good and solid, then you don't need black box. Although there is also the exception of like crazy builds, like a big 10-inch build, like a 10-inch dual motor build. That kind of stuff is way outside of like the normal operating window of what Betaflight was designed to handle. And so of course it's going to be a pain in the ass to tune. And so stuff like that, you kind of have to either learn black box or hook up with somebody that knows black box and beg, borrow, steal their time. And so yeah, there's still a ton of value in learning to black box tune. But if you don't enjoy that, there are ways around it. And yeah, for me, it wasn't so much that I didn't enjoy it. It was just that I wanted to focus on being a really good pilot. And there's no shame in that, especially nowadays. Some of the best pilots on Earth right now have no idea how to tune and have never really tuned. And you watch their footage and go, oh my God, this guy's the best pilot with the best tune I've ever seen. No, they're just using Hypersmooth or Gyroflow or Real Steady or whatever. Or they're just buying the right mechanical components that on a completely stock tune fly really good. So yeah, tuning is a very complicated subject. But it doesn't have to be. You can, with a half decent build, as I'm about to show you, you can, as Flying Carrot says, you can tune a fish. You can put a pretty simple, you can follow a pretty simple, like, mantra in terms of tuning and get it dialed in like 90% perfect. Brandon, do you think, be honest, you can tell me I'm full of shit. Do you think 90% is too high of a number? You've seen, Brandon's Baked Beans is like our resident OG gangly ganger who loves tuning and is brilliant at it. He charges $1 a minute for anybody, and it's a killer deal for that price. And I've sent Brandon tons of tunes. Think of the tunes that I've sent you with not unruly rigs. Like, think of the tunes that I've sent you from rigs that I'm like, hey, this thing flies pretty damn good, but am I leaving anything on the table, right? Because I know I've sent you a bunch of tunes from rigs that have like fucked up gyros and stuff like that. But yeah, do you think 90% is too high of a percentage for how close you can get a tune to being perfect? Without using black box. Also, one of the other things that I'm pretty hell-bent on is that you should be crashing, you should be flying hard, you should be banging up motors and props and whatnot. And like pushing your tune to 99% perfect gives you practically no wiggle room. And if you bang up a motor or a prop or delaminate an arm, there's a chance that rig is not coming home with you. Sure, in most cases you can go into the OSD and pull the master multiplier down and be able to maybe fly it home. But God forbid you can't get into your OSD, right? Like there's things that can kind of prevent that from happening. So to me, it makes sense to have a tune at 90% so that you've got that headroom. So if you beat it up real good, you can keep flying it. This also prevents you from like, oh, I crashed. I got to go into my OSD real quick and back my tune off a little bit. Okay, cool. Now it's flyable again. Oh, I crashed again. I got to go back into my OSD, right? Like, again, that you're not like you're making it harder on yourself trying to get better as a pilot sometimes. Like tuning versus getting better at a pilot, you would think that those two things are like together, but in a lot of cases they're at odds with each other. So you got to be kind of careful. Brandon says black box you can get close if it's a good build. If you want to polish a turd, you need black box lug. That is a perfect description of it. Yeah, if it's a turd of a build and you're looking to polish it up, you need black box. But if it's a half decent build, yeah, you don't necessarily need it. This is I only have these little 260s charged at the moment. And I'm not going to put them onto a rig with 36,000 kV motors. So I lied. We're not going to fly that right now. We're going to fly the Mobula 6 2024 with the low kV, like 0702, 28,000 kV heavy model motors, which are great on these little 260 mAh batteries. You can get these from Betafpv or Tiny Whoop. There is a big-ass clump of hair in this motor. Let me get that out real quick because that is a big enough clump of hair where it's going to make this this motor vibrate. Look at that. Ew, you can't see it. I promise you, it was a big clump of hair. I don't know if I'm going to make it to midnight. I can feel my voice starting to protest, but we'll do a little more. Uh, 260 on a little ultralight Mobula 6 2024. This is the ultimate Mobula 6 2024. It's in a Newbie Drone Light AF frame using Gemfan 1219S props, old school Mobula 6 canopy with Runcam Nano 3, and an ORT Micro V. Amazing, amazing, amazing little setup that I absolutely love to death. Oh, that battery's not charged. Why does it? It thinks it's a 2S battery. Hold on. Let me unplug it and replug it. Also, I don't understand why Express LRS is not connecting. I had this rig in the pile of builds that are on 2.5. That's weird. I guess it's on ELRS 3.0. Let's see. Vega's creative exposure. If you want to get my attention, make sure you call me CiottiFPV, because when you do that, it lights up in orange. This is the chat. All of these oranges are when people type out CiottiFPV. So yeah, see, it didn't light up in orange. I almost didn't see it. So yeah, for the future, if you want to get my attention, you don't have to put an @ in front of it, but you have to type CiottiFPV. It's called. It's from a company called OmniFixo. 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 Every single other helping hand setup is completely worthless. This is the only one to have. This is so much better than every single other one. It's ridiculous. Get yourself an OmniFixo, and also get yourself Mass Adhesives electronic thermally resistive putty. Between the OmniFixo and this right here, you can do absolutely anything. This and that are top fucking tier, man. I've been building these things for over 8 years, and yeah, these two things are way better than anything else that exists by like a lot. It's like not even close. All right, let's fly this Mobula 6 2024. Okay. What's happening? Why? Why are you doing that? That's okay. What? Why is it on PID profile 2? Hold on. What's happening here? Oh my god, pid profile 1 is ridiculous. Why are you flying away like this? This should be a working rig. No, no, no. Stop it. Stop it. Chill out. Okay, that's fine. Oh, you motherfucker. That's what it looks like when the rig falls all the way back behind the desk. You bastard. Oh, god damn it. All right. What's your deal here, little buddy? Who is all right, so when a rig all of a sudden is being a dick like that, flip it into turtle mode, hold it in your hand, and gently spin each motor up. And what you're feeling for is which motor and or propeller is banged up and vibrating like crazy. And in this case, it's motor number 2, but it's not that bad. You hold it in your hand because you want to feel the vibrations coming through it. Yeah, it's not that bad. All right, so at that point, what you want to look for is something that is like hard mounting the flight controller. So look for things that are like squishing the flight controller up against the frame or something like that. The reason why we put rubber grommets in the corners of the flight controller is to isolate it. The flight controller has the gyro on it. The motors and the props are always going to vibrate, even if they're fresh. And so by isolating the flight controller with the gyro on it, it allows the motors and the props and the frame to vibrate all the hell they want, and the flight controller stays nice and isolated and not shaking really hard. So if you've got like a wire, I didn't mean to give you guys the finger, I swear. If you've got like a wire that's pinned up between the flight controller and the frame, that's not going to allow that flight controller to float. You're going to be like hard mounting that flight controller. So all the vibrations in the frame and motors and props is going to get transmitted directly up to the flight controller, and you don't want that. So that's the next thing that you want to look at is, do you have something that's hard mounting the flight controller? And in this case, we do. It's the USB port. How the hell did I not notice that? The USB port is longer. Wow, I think this rig has always been like this, and I just haven't noticed it. So when you put the battery in here, this is the Cockroach Light AF frame. You put the battery in here. The bottom of the battery is held in by where my index fingernail is, right? The bottom of the little battery cage. The top of the battery is secured by this little triangle-looking bastard. And in theory, the little triangle-looking bastard in the back here, where my index fingernail is. But look, here's the USB port, and look at this. Look at the height of the USB port in relation to the little triangle. There you can really see it. See, there's the triangle in the front, there's the triangle in the back. So when I put this battery in here, it's pushing up against that USB port. And by pushing up against that USB port, we've now hard mounted the flight controller. All of the vibrations coming through the frame are now going to get pushed up into the flight controller. And that's no good. That will not work, as we're seeing here. Like I said, I'm shocked that I'm just noticing this now. That is a total oversight on my part. I'm going to take a guess, though. These battery... Well, here, I'll show you. I'm going to put one of these battery wires on top of that the plastic triangle, and that's going to boost the battery up. And I'll bet you, all of a sudden, this thing will fly fine. So I'll bet you, every single battery I've flown, that wire has been there, and I just haven't noticed it. But a minute ago, I just routed the battery leads in a way that would not have them pinched like that. So watch this. It was flying away, all angry like. And now I've boosted the the rear of the battery up. Let's see if magically it'll fly perfect. This is actually a really cool. Oh my god! It still thinks it's on 2S. Nope. Oh Jesus! Well, either something's going wrong or the USB port is still touching. Yeah, the USB port is still touching. What a pain in the ass. What the hell? This thing has been completely fine for 30, 40, 50 batteries. Let me try one more time. One more time. Maybe the frame's broken? I have been flying this thing really hard. Is the frame broken anywhere? This is a wobbly ass frame. But usually it's fine. I have broken a couple of these light AF frames. No, it looks okay. Why are you all of a sudden being a jerk, yo? Huh. Okay. Well, we're not flying this. Well, we dicked around for long enough for the regular 300 mAh batteries to get enough charge in them. What the hell, dude? Like, this thing has been completely fine. There's got to be something physically broken here. Where is it? Where's the broken thing? Where are you, broken thing? Man, I am shocked that I haven't noticed the USB port sticking up. I mean, maybe... So one of the ways that you can fix that is that you run a rubber grommet that's a little bit taller on the bottom, and that'll push the flight controller up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to be doing on this rig to try to fix that issue. So I'm going to pull this thing apart anyway. But yeah, that is very weird. Usually they don't just start acting like that for no reason. Although there could be an electronic issue. A bank of capacitors could have shit the bed. I don't know. There's so much that can go wrong with these things, but yeah, it's super weird. Super weird. I'm actually going to discharge these little 260 mAh batteries because it's going to be a little bit before I can work on that guy. Where's my little tiny whoop discharger? What the hell? Where is it? What the fuck? Hey, there's one of them. Where's the other one, though? Oh, man, I'm having a hot flash. It's hot down here. The other one's not in there. Where's the other one? There it is, right in front of me. All right. Tiny Whoop sells these little 1S dischargers. They come with PH 2.0 plugs on them, but you can remove the PH 2.0 and solder on a BT 2.0. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's doable. You'll be all right. Okay, we're gonna fly the little Blitz, iFlight Blitz AIO rig that I'm pretty sure is like good to go. This is what you want to see from the USB port. You want on this. So this is a Cockroach V3 frame. The bottom of the battery is held by these little nubs. And you see how that nub is longer than the USB port? That's what you want. You never want the USB port to be longer than the part that the bottom of the battery sits on. And so as long as these battery cables are out of the way and sitting flat, which they will, like that. Okay, fuck you. I give up. Logitech can go to hell. All right, Blitz FPV rig. I think this is like 18.1 grams. It's on Tiny Whoop 0702 36,000 kV motors with Gemfan 1210 biblades. Awesome little combo. After this, I'll dive back into chat, I promise. Chad. I'll dive back into Chad. That sounds gross. There it is. What did that just say? CPU over? All right, here you go. Ooh, what are you all jittery for, buddy? What's happening? I can hear it. I can hear that it's a little jittery. Interesting. It's kind of all over the place. Let me see what's going on here. Do I have this cranked up too much? No. Come on. Whoops. Oh my god. So this is either an electrical noise issue or it could be a physical vibration problem. Let's check for physical vibes. We're going to go into turtle mode. We're going to hold this thing in our hand and just spin up each motor and try to feel for one that's vibrating harder. In this case, they're all pretty clean, at which point you want to take a look at the physical build, just like we just were. That looks okay. The last thing I do want to check with this is what the filtering looks like in Betaflight. I don't remember doing anything with that, so let's see. Because that could absolutely be the problem, depending on what gyro it's got. Like, if it's got a BMI 270 gyro, you want to run a little bit of a different, filtering setup with them. Courtesy of Brandon's Baked Beans. Aaron Mueller says, where do you get those V antennas? Race day quads. But I'm going to have a bunch of those V. I've got ORT making me a bunch of these V antennas in a specific length. And so I will have some for sale in my Etsy store sooner than later. Okay, so we're going to go into configuration because that's one of the quickest ways to see what gyro it's got. And in this case, it's got a BMI 270 gyro because that's the only gyro that uses 3.2 kilohertz. So, looks like I've got this thing on 4.5.1. That's great, which leads me to believe that I may have already put Brandon's filtering setup on here. I have. Okay, so I have Brandon's BMI 270 specific filtering setup on here. I'm going to lower this Q factor, which is going to make the dynamic filter a little bit wider. That's going to add a little bit of filtering. And now I'm going to take some of this D-term filtering out. I pushed it up to 1.2. I'm going to bring it down to 1.0. And hopefully that will provide enough additional filtering to chill this thing out. Because the PID gains are not like crazy. Like, yes, these motors are crazy. 36,000 kV is a lot. But in theory, it should be able to handle that with these PIDs. These are not like super cranked up PIDs. If this doesn't work, what I'm actually going to do is take away a bunch of filtering. Sometimes these tiny whoops can get really upset if you have too much filtering, which is adding too much delay. With the RPM that these motors spin at, there's a lot of higher frequency vibrations. And if you have too much filtering is filtering too hard on the lower frequencies. And yeah, I've had loads of tiny whoops that fly like ass with a lot of filtering, and then you remove a bunch of filtering, which lowers the latency, and miraculously, they start flying a lot better. So we'll try that next, but first, we will add filtering, because that's like the sensible solution to this problem, is to add filtering. Oops, I accidentally disarmed it. Nope, it's still pissed. Hey, whoa. What you want to try to notice right now, though, is it better or is it worse? And it's actually a little bit better, but the battery has sagged down a bunch now, and that is probably a part of the reason that it's a little bit better. So I'm going to grab a freshly charged battery, and we're going to take a look at that. We're going to see if it gets all grumpy again. And if it does, then I'm going to remove a bunch of filtering. I'm basically going to crank that D-turn filter slider up. This battery is almost fully charged. It should be high enough voltage to show me whether or not this thing is being a dick. Let's take a look. All right, let's see. Hold on. Turn the brightness up on my goggles. That's a little bit better. Why is that saying CPU overload? I've never seen that before. I wonder if I'm pushing the CPU too hard on this, and that's the that could be causing the problem. I don't. Well, maybe. It's definitely better than it was a minute ago. I did not need to disarm. Shit! That's me just flying like a buffoon. What the hell? It's still acting funny. Oh yeah, it's acting weird. Let me... Oh boy. Let's see what the CPU is showing. That CPU overclock is interesting. CPU load 45%, 44%. That's not... That shouldn't be too high. We're at 3.2. Do I accidentally have it on D-Shot 600 or something? No, we're good. I really don't want to drop down to D-Shot 150. I also don't want to drop down to 1.6K. Air mode OSD. Well, let me try this. Let me try taking a bunch of filtering out. Bring it all the way up to 1.5. That's removing a lot of filtering. And let's see if it gets better or worse. All right. This battery has discharged down a little bit, so I might not be able to tell, but let's just... Hopefully it's super obvious. Let's give it a shot. Almost Stevie Wondered it. Almost. All right, let's see what's up here. It's not any worse. I want to say it's better. It's every once in a while it still has a little bit of weirdness, but it was doing that a minute ago. Yeah, see, it's not perfect. Oops. Ugh. Oh boy, I am not flying well tonight. Oh, yikes. Come on. Hey, that was fun. Yeah, I mean, it is totally fine with the with that filtering removed, but it's still not quite as good. It still doesn't fly quite as good. See this CPU overload shit? What is that, dude? What are you doing? No, no, no. Don't you fuck! Huh. Interesting. I'm gonna assume that the CPU overload thing is what's causing the issues, because I'm able to move the filtering up and down and it doesn't affect it. You know what I mean? So it's obviously kind of obviously not a filtering issue. I wonder if you can see the scratch in the visor through a tiny whoop. Yeah, you can just barely see it. I know where to look, though. What's going on with the video? Oi! Wow, that thing took a hell of a bounce. Jesus. Oh, boy. Here it is again. Load. What? What the hell? Yo, that's very weird. Oh, God. Ah! Not a great night. Not a great night of flying. Yeah, see, it won't arm sometimes. Okay, that's very weird. I don't have much experience with this AIO, though. And so maybe that's something weird with this AIO. Luckily, I've got 3 more of these AIOs to play with. So I'm going to stop pissing time away into this because, like I said, I don't want to go down on the PID loop frequency or the D-shot. I'm going to finish these other builds with this same AIO in them, and I'm going to see if they have any of that weirdness with the CPU overload. Maybe this AIO is just broken in some weird way. Let me see what flight controller has. Blitz 1S 5-amp AIO, ELRS 2.4 version 1.0 BMI 270, and that sticker is right on top of the processor, so I don't know what processor this thing has. But I think it'll tell me under status in Betaflight, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look. I know there's a couple different F4 flight controllers. Some of them are slower than others. So let's come into the CLI. Type status. Turn off this transmitter. Turn off those goggles. Yeah. F411. There we go. So yeah, an F411 should be totally fine. I can overclock it. Why don't I do that? I think it's, well, I can just type get and then over. Yeah, get. So it's CPU overclock. Oh, it's already overclocked a little bit. It's at 108. Isn't it usually at off? Let's try something here. I'm going to do set CPU overclock equals off. Save. Let's see if this is better or worse. I am most curious. It should be worse. Maybe it won't even arm. That'll be easy. Maybe it won't even arm. I think I could technically also maybe go down to like 100 hertz from 250, and that might help. Well, that's interesting. You would think that it would be worse, but hang on. Whoa, whoa, what was that? It did something very weird. I don't really know what it was, though. Oy. Boy, am I flying like ass tonight. Jeez. Okay. It's kind of all better, but the battery is discharging, so hold on. The battery's kind of getting down there. Hold up. Let's put a fresh battery on it, because that's when the problems are really kind of all over the place. MoFPV's in the chat. What's up, homie? Let's throw a freshie on here and see if I can duplicate those problems. I didn't realize this was going to turn into a troubleshooting stream, but here we are. I didn't realize that every single rig that I have is revolting and betraying me all at the same time. But welcome to FPV! Hey, okay. Why is it fine? Why is it better with the CPU not overclocked? That doesn't make much sense. Hey, yo. Ah, fuck you! Ah, fuck you! Ah, fuck you! Ah, fuck you! No! I want to try to get it to do that CPU overload thing again. I think it might have just done it a second ago. Jesus Christ. Come on now. I seem to have to push it really hard to get it to... I don't know where the fuck it is. And I'm not in the mood for this. Jesus, how was it right there? I walked right fucking past it. Very weird. Very, very weird. Here's something that's interesting. I'm done flying. I'm just gonna get more and more upset if I keep flying. Check this out. The Blitz AIO has a second board in the back here for the VTX. And so you have to cut the ass off of the OG Mobula 6 canopy to clear that. And by doing that, by cutting off the rear mounting point, this canopy no longer boxes in this frame. And it makes the frame more wobbly. All right, because we're not connecting this rear point, this frame can now flex a good amount more. Also, it's going to flex a little bit differently in the rear than in the front, which can potentially add like a second node, I want to say that they call it, of vibration. That could be the problem here. Versus like all the other rigs that I've done that on that connect the rear point. And it's well, no, this is, I was about to say this is a light AF frame, but it's not. This is a V3 frame. The V3 frame is stiffer than the light AF frame. Yeah, I mean, that could totally be the problem. Oh, all right, I have an idea. So the dynamic filter is the one that targets frame resonances. And right now, I've got one single dynamic filter turned on. If, because this one is opened and these three are tied in, if this frame has two different vibrational, like, columns or nodes or whatever, one for the front, one for the back, basically. That's super oversimplifying it, but in theory, a second dynamic filter might fix this. So let's try it. So we're just going to go up to a second dynamic notch filter here. I'm not going to change the Q factor. I'm not going to change any of this other stuff. I'm just going to add a second dynamic filter. If this fixes the problem, I'm a fucking genius. Far from it. But I will be quite pleased if this fixes the problem, because that's... I don't know much, but I do know some things. All right, let's see. Or it'll make that weird CPU overclock thing even worse, because we're asking it to do even more filtering. We're asking the CPU to do even more work. That warning was weird, man. I'm super confused about that. All right, let's see if this is any better. Let's see. It arms. So we're not completely overloading the CPU. Nah, it's still a little bit weird. Come on, man. Fuck you! Let go of it! Thank you. I'm just trying to, like, really push it to bring that behavior out. Wait a second. Hold on. It is... Tell me this isn't... Tell me the whole time this hasn't just been... prop wash. Jesus. Yeah, disarm it. Good. Good idea. Nah, it's still being a little weird. I can hear it when I come off the throttle. Not all the time though. Man, this is being weird. It's like every once in a while when I come off the throttle, there's just some like blah, 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 blah. That overclock thing is completely gone, though. Oh my god. Ugh. Oh my god, why? Yeah. It's not just when I make left turns. Yeah, there's something still unhappy. Alright, I give up. I'm going to fly these other builds and see if they have similar problems, and that'll be a huge... I will learn a lot from that. I ain't gonna do that tonight, though. I'm just annoyed. I'm just generally like, I just feel like shit, you know? And like, if I feel like shit, I can do stuff that's not annoying, but annoying stuff is going to make me punch a baby, and nobody wants that. Man, this frame feels really floppy. Do I have another rig with a V3? This one's beat to hell, but... Hold on. Hold on. Nah, feels fine. It's placebo. Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, it flies okay, as you guys can see. It's just, it's not absolutely perfect. And maybe it won't be absolutely perfect, which is what I'm going to learn from finishing these other builds. This is one of them. It's kind of cool. Little drift car chasing setup. Did I finish this one? Uh, Cheatonian tuned 7 whoops this past week using my D/P to I ratio method and some multiplier, master multiplier of D maxed out. It really did work well across the board. Good enough for me. Yeah, man. It's magic. It is magic. For the record, Brandon's Baked Beans helped me with that. I've always pushed D gains higher than P and I gains, but Brandon and I have had many conversations about tuning, and I've mentioned that, and he's always kind of come back with like, yeah, like pushing D gain is always going to eat more prop wash. I also like the way that extra D gain flies. It acts as a little bit of stick smoothing, so it makes the footage look better. Cheatonian says, when do you use each of the 3 different 31mm props that you recommend? Great question. Super high KV motors, I always use the bi-blades because they're bi-blades. Low, like the other end of the spectrum, I'm not going to say super low KV motors, but like low KV motors, 28,000, 26,000, 25,000. I use the Gemfan 1219S's because they're very light, they're very durable, but they're the most pitchy option. So because of the fact that they have more pitch, they make more power, and on a low KV motor, you want more power. And then any motors that are like in the middle, like 32,000, 30,000, these HQ ultralight tri-blades are really good. These are the lightest weight of all these propellers, but they're still a tri-blade. So I don't want these on like a 36,000 or a 40,000 kV rig. But yeah, they're great on a 30. I really dig them on 32,000 kV rigs, which this and this are. All all 3 of these propellers are really good, and you can use them sort of interchangeably. I don't necessarily think I would use a 1219S on a 40,000 kV motor. That's probably too much, and you might blow the FETs up on the AIO. But other than that, yeah, you can use any of these props on any motor that's like 32,000 kV and below. Probably even up to 36,000 kV, the Fireflies, but still. Careful using the tri-blades on the 40,000 kV motors. You're asking an awful lot. Let's see. Did I get this thing set up? In theory, I dumped a tune on it. Yeah, look, we're good. This thing is all set up. It should fly. Let's see if this has the same issues. It looks like it's ready to go. Let's see if it is. I am going to change this thing around, though. I'm going to set it up so that the battery faces rearward. But you guys don't have to worry about that. We talked about that last time. All right. So, for right now... Well, you know what? I flew this on the last stream, didn't I? I think I did. Yeah, let's see if this thing acts weird, too. Just trying to slide this battery back a little bit. Let's see. Jesus. Chip Good says, is it worth it to upgrade the receiver on the Mobula? The Mobula receiver is built in, so there's really no upgrade for it. My God, look how oval that round gate looks. What the hell camera is this? Nope, this one's the same way. This is giving me the same weirdness. I'm not flying it as hard. But I can kind of tell. Oops. Oh, come on. Yeah, see there? See that little bobble there? That was not me on the sticks. Oh, it was the fan, though. That was I forgot. I turned this fan up the other day. It smelled like shit in here, so I turned this fan up. Son of a bitch! Is all of this because this fan? A lot of times it's been happening when I'm over here. God damn it! I swear to God, if this has all been because I have that fan on medium instead of low, I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh God. Oh, stop it. Stop it. Oh, come on now. Hey. I mean, I've been keeping out of that fan area for the last, like, minute. And it's been completely fine. God damn it. Are you kidding me? Oh, fart. I think there might have been a little weirdness there. It's not something that you guys are going to see. It's a feeling I'm getting on the sticks. Every once in a while, it's just not doing exactly what I'm telling it to do. Interesting. Very... Come on, man. Fuck off. Stop! Leave me alone! Hey! No, no, no. You fucking bastard. I really am done flying now. I'm gonna light this whole building on fire. If I crash this thing unrecoverable one more fucking time. To chase little RC drift cars, this thing would be totally fine. Oh, Christ. So now I can't get the battery unplugged. Fuck off. Ah, there we go. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I am not sure. But it's not terrible. Like, can you guys even notice it? You guys probably can't even notice it. It's not that bad. I just have impossible expectations. But that's a good thing. Vegas Creative Switcher says, thank you very much. You're certainly welcome. Denzel the Terrible says, I want to hear Papa Ciotti's review of the Omni Fixo. I don't know if he's ever noticed it sitting there. And I know that it wasn't around back in his day. So yeah, next time he's here, I'll try to remember to show it to him, see what he thinks about it. Thrash FPV says, I have Mobula 8 motors, but want to switch to a Meteor 85 frame for durability. You're not going to get much more durability from the Meteor 85 frame, I'll tell you that. That has 4 motor hole mounts instead of 3. Should I print an adapter, new motors, different frame? Yeah, no, if you're looking for durability, the Meteor 85 frame is not going to really do that for you. You need the HGLRC 85 frame. That's the only 85mm motor-to-motor frame that's even remotely durable. And it is 3 motor mount holes, so you'll be good. Brandon's Baked Bean says, I've been known to take a Dremel to wayward USB plugs in the past. Not recommending it, but it is an option. Ooh, that is a scary-ass option. It's not this rig, it's that other one. I'll try the grommet thing first for sure. Yeah, I'll try taller grommets first. We'll see how it goes. Actually, what's funny is I don't think taller grommets are going to work because I tried that trick with the motor wire. I think there's actually something else going on with this Mobula 6 2024. I think maybe it's shitting the bed because it was totally fine and now it's not. And there's no great reason for that. You know, like it should be fine. I just can't see anything that's changed about it. Like, what the hell? What I should do is change the propellers. That should have been the first thing that I did, is to change all 4 propellers. You can usually tell if there's a banged up propeller when you spin them up in turtle mode, but still, one of the very early troubleshooting steps should be just a fresh set of props to see if that makes it better. So that's probably what I'm going to do on this, just to rule that out. But I'll work on that on my time. I'm going to get caught up in chat and then wrap this up. It's already after 12. Great. Wednesday will be a better stream if I'm feeling better. I should be feeling better by then. Mo FPV says, congrats on 10,000. Thank you, dude. Drones and FPV says, you get that same CPU overload on my T-Motor F4 AIO. Interesting. I've never seen it before. That's so weird. Denzel the Turtle says, I didn't notice. Congrats, Gangly Man. Thank you, dude. Brandon Bean says, it probably doesn't, but if you do increase the Q factor, you can increase the Q factor to make it less impactful. Oh yeah, I guess I should put, this one back onto one dynamic filter, one dynamic notch filter. Switching to 2 didn't necessarily seem to really help it. Dave T says, how'd you get the CPU overload to go away? Mine's doing the same thing, missed it. It just went away. I actually turned off the CPU overclocking, which seems to have gotten it to go all the way away, which is very weird. But it was only popping up like every once in a while. I got to do more work on it to figure it out. It's still acting a little bit weird. More Northside says, dude, you're crashing. Go to bed. I won't be able to go to bed. I can't sleep. But I'll at least relax and stop talking. At some point, Zach in the chat says, what if it was baby Hitler? I don't even want to know the context. I just love that someone on Earth typed that. Weird, man. Weird. I'm beginning to think that it might just be something with this AIO. I'm used to the Happy Model 2G4 AIOs, which are brilliant. And they're, I've been saying forever that they're the best Whoop AIOs that have ever been made. And so I've got expectations that are all the way up here. Most people with tiny whoops look at the way mine fly and say, like, holy hell, how do yours fly so smooth, so locked, so this, that, the other? And so, yeah, maybe this, this AIO has this VTX pinned to it. And so that could just be causing like erratic vibrations to happen every once in a while. And that's what's making it every once in a while just kind of make a little weird kind of hiccup. Both of these were kind of doing that from time to time. So that really leads me down the path that this AIO is not as good as a 2G4, which not any of them that I've ever found are. So maybe it's not... maybe this is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to move that. I'm going to take that one extra dynamic notch filter away real quick because I will absolutely forget if I don't do it right now. But yeah, as you saw, it flies pretty damn good. And so I'm going to screw around with it a little bit more, but I'm not going to go completely insane. Because, yeah, it's totally fine. It's not quite as good, but nothing really is. I got 2 more of these that I need to figure out, but we ain't doing it now. Thanks for hanging, friends. Sorry for a low energy sick man stream, but I figured this is better than nothing. Hopefully you learned something. I'll see you on Wednesday at 8. I might change this back now. If Joshua's going to be streaming again Monday at 8, I got to change this back to 10. I'll see you Wednesday at 10. Bye, friends. I don't know what this flying is going to be, but I know you're going to love it. Love you guys. Be good. This is the Meteor 75 Pro build. Love you. Bye. See you Wednesday, friends.